Okay.
All right, we'll call to order here at 5:31. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Boy, it's always just, what a day. It's just been such wonderful weather out here and just can't wait for a little more rain, and it's unreal.
Obviously, it's not raining where you are. I see a nice background.
Maybe some of these pictures don't reflect that sort of stuff, isn't it? And this is in Westport, and those palm trees are actually put in, taken out every year.
Yeah.
Electronically?
It's quite the there's actually someone we did some work for out in the Thousand Islands and Thimble Islands, and they actually would go ahead and it literally had like their own fleet of little boats, and they'd be transporting the palm trees and the banana trees and the other sort of stuff every year in and out of greenhouse type stuff, and it's like very strange, but God bless them.
Yep.
All right, so let's see. Any comments on the minutes?
Yeah, we don't have anybody from Westmount on yet, do we?
No, we don't.
That's probably fine.
Oh, wait. They're showing up now.
Oh, there's Amy. Yep.
Anne's coming on.
There's Ann.
So why don't we let's go ahead. Any comments on while they're coming on board? Any comments on the minutes?
No, they were fine with me. Move to accept.
Yep.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you
Aye.
very much for those, appreciated. All right, so call for public comment. Again, we try to limit to 2 or 3 minutes. Ideally general stuff, not necessarily specific, but can be specific. I'm not sure who showed up first.
Jeanette.
Pardon?
Jeanette showed up first. And she
Jeanette?
hasn't been here a long time, so we should hear from her first.
Jeanette, how are you doing? And any comments for the group?
Yeah, hi. I haven't talked to her in a while. I came home tonight and I noticed that we're going to have inspections tomorrow. I wasn't here yesterday, so maybe there wasn't a notice on the door. I used to get an email or a blast that you guys set up, but I haven't gotten anything like that, so I don't know if that went out, but I wasn't aware of it. But more importantly, I just want to know, like, why we constantly have to have this. Like, I just had an inspection in my apartment a couple of months ago, and now you're back again. And it is kind of like an inconvenience for me, and I kind of feel like my privacy is being invaded a lot. I have only these 3 little rooms, people walking around in them. I don't know what you're looking for. If there's a problem, I'm very open to very easily for me to call you guys and tell you about it. So I don't have anything wrong with it, and I do want to be here when people are in my apartment. So I'm kind of like wondering why this, like I said, and now I find out there's another one in a couple of more months. I'm very open. Everybody who knows me place by now have called up, sent pictures, talked about things that have gone wrong since the day I've moved here. And basically, they're still the same things. They've been unaddressed.
The same time happening.
Well, I believe, and I'll let Westmount chime in, but I mean, I think that there's certain inspections that we have to do and at different times. I don't know if there's a general, if there's.
Well, what are you looking for? Like, what do I have? Why do I have to have this?
Sure.
We
Amy?
have to check all the apartments for inspections. We have to check and make sure everything's up to speed in the apartments. Not all apartments are kept immaculate as yours, so we need to check everybody's apartment. It's standard. It's part of your lease.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Amy, but I mean, this is required by CHAFA, HUD, all the other people.
Yes, exactly, because we have all the programs that we do have in our buildings. It is that. But remember, that was last year that was done. That wasn't this year done. So
I'm sorry.
She's talking about the MOR.
So
She was talking
I
about the
can,
MOR, yeah.
yeah, I can enumerate a couple of the different reasons why we go into the units with the regularity which we do. We have sprinkler inspections. We do the filters. We do the annual inspections. anytime we're gonna have a state or federal agency or asset management, we do our pre-inspections to make sure that everything is all up to snuff.
But it,
So
But
examples,
that's what I'm saying. You're in here all the time. It's not really fair. I mean, like I said, I had a problem, I call immediately, okay? If you want to come in, or at least then give me not a 9 to 4, okay? That's an all-day thing. Tell me when you're going to come, set up an appointment, come in, and I'll be here. Like I said, I don't know what you're coming in here to look for. I've been here when you have them. They come in, they look around, they turn on my water, they check my lighting, they look at the if my stove goes on and off, and they leave. I mean, I've been here. I know what goes on. My apartment is not the problem, I assure you. But I don't even mind that because it has to be so many. And then there's the other guy with the bug thing. I mean, it gets, again, I'm a caregiver to my dad. I have to make arrangements for this. I just want to know, is it really necessary to come in and out? Like I said, there's a front door that hasn't been fixed in 5 years. Maybe somebody could work on that instead of walking in and out of my apartment. I don't want to be sarcastic and I don't want to be argumentative. I try to stay away because I just find that it's not helpful. You're not it's not Amy and it's not Gunnar. I don't know who it is. They're very willing to hear me and to take my complaints or my problems, but they're still there. They're not changed. So I mean, you want apartments up to par? So do I. I want to keep the whole place up to par. That's why I try to get involved. But it's not. Hey, this is why you want to have senior smart. Tell me when you're going to be here. Don't make me stand here all day and turn on my wall.
So then hold on for just 1 second. So just is it just talking to Westmount for a second? So is there a way that we can also just sort of let our tenants know like what the annual inspection protocol is and approximately what time of the year we're going to be doing those? Because again, I mean, I know that we're asked to do a ton of inspections in order to remain in compliance with all of the rules and regulations. But is that something that we could literally say, like, look, quarterly, we got to do X and Y. We're going to try it during this time frame. Is that something that's possible, or does that make any sense?
Ann, you're muted, Ann. I know you're trying to speak.
I'm sorry. Yeah, no,
No,
only-
hang on, Amy, hang on. Ann was going to speak. Go ahead, Ann.
So
Okay, go ahead.
So what we try to do is try to do inspections, again, annually, typically concurrent with somebody's renewal. Some things got delayed and we have to shift. Also, we don't always know exactly when Spectrum, they'll usually do it on a quarterly, they'll do the inspections. We just don't know which quarter we're going to fall on. Same with HUD. We don't know exactly when they're deciding that they're going to do their inspection. We only are afforded usually a 2-week heads up, and we don't know who they're going to look at. So there's sometimes it's a little bit of a guessing game, and we can't always be for sure when things are going to come up. Things like our sprinkler inspections. And again, what we try to do is try to get in there and we'll just test to make sure everything is working well. And yes, Jeanette, I hear you. And you're saying that your unit, you do let us know when things aren't quite right. Again, I can't say that I can isolate one person. Well, they're good. I have to do it. What I do for one, we have to do for it all. So I hear you. We can try to let you know, but again, I can't even get narrow down time frames because we don't know how quickly we're going to be moving through, or indeed if we're going to your unit. So there's a little bit of a guessing game for us as well. We just try to do the best that we can to give you a time, a window. HUD even says, give tenants a 2-week window if we're coming, because we may be able to make it one day, we might not be able to make it the next, and we need to come back the next day after that. So again, we try to isolate the very best that we can, and we've
I
been,
know, but this isn't a HUD inspection. I've had a HUD inspection, I think, in November. I just had one. So
Okay, I think you have to do now. Yeah, what if you're not?
Amy, I
Amy,
can't,
can you
Amy,
mute,
I
please?
can't hear you.
Amy, just mute, please.
Okay.
Yeah, so let me just jump in here for a second. And Jeanette, I hear you, I understand the frustration. And believe me when I tell you, we get equally frustrated with the number of inspections that have to be done with the property. Having said that, when it comes to federal and state agencies that require inspections of the property, that is something that we must do. We have no choice. And to help you understand why it feels and seems random, is they set up some amount of randomness to the inspections to ensure that we don't have a lot of time to prepare for the inspections, so that we are forced, in their minds, into always being ready, if you will, for the inspections. And so they do that on purpose, and that's by design, and there's nothing at all that we can do about that. When it comes to extermination, extermination is a regularly scheduled thing, and we're doing that for the benefit of the tenants. When it comes to fire sprinkler inspections, again, that's a life safety item, regularly scheduled. When it comes to preventative maintenance, like the filters, are regularly scheduled for the benefit of the tenants. And then our policies as managers are to inspect the units annually, and we do that for a number of reasons, including making sure that everything in the unit is operational, looking for things that might need to be fixed, and also looking for unusual wear and tear on the apartments that we might need to address that we wouldn't otherwise know. And so I know it feels intrusive, and I apologize for that, but unfortunately, it's the nature of the beast when it comes to this type of housing, where we've got lots of agencies who are looking over our shoulders, that we're required to do all of these inspections.
So again,
So I think, Jeanette, that what we can end up doing is paying attention here a little bit, and board will talk to Westmount just a little bit under the inspection process. But as I kind of suspected, unfortunately, a lot of the inconvenience that you experience comes from the regulatory environment, and it's please let me know, please, believe us that we do not like it whatsoever. And we find it as annoying as you do. Well, probably not as well, maybe as annoying as you do.
More.
Because it's a whole lot of time and effort, and it pisses people off, and we get it. But that's the system, unfortunately, in which we live.
okay, but if
Question,
you're doing
question.
three
Do we
to
know in advance that they're coming, or they just pop in?
Oh,
Usually about 2 weeks in advance.
So we
So
can
we-
notify the tenant that it's possible that this will occur within the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, I don't think notification is the issue. I think frequency is the issue.
tomorrow it's just Gunner and Geo. That's what I heard.
Right. So as I was explaining, in addition to the regulatory inspections, the regulatory agencies that inspect us, our policy is to inspect the units annually. And
Okay,
so
but
that's likely what they're doing tomorrow.
Because I take the numbers off of what you gave me and I put it in. Yeah.
Amy, can you mute, please?
So sorry.
all right, so
I'm sorry, I'm doing, I apologize.
all right.
So maybe, I mean, a way just asking here is again, if we can ask for Westmount to go and sort of take a little look,
There-
see,
there
see
be at
whether or
least
not we
a little-
can't, if we can't, like, for example, if there is a HUD inspection within a window that would qualify for our inspection, can that kill two birds with one stone and not bother somebody? Obviously it's tough. I understand that. And it's one of those that we have different people giving us different requirements and you can't make everybody happy.
Could we at least do it a little bit more on an appointment kind of schedule? Like we're gonna do 59 at 9 o'clock to 11 o'clock. Or we're gonna do 61 at 1 o'clock, because then you go to lunch. I could still be sitting here at lunch while you guys go to lunch, which is fine. I believe that you should have lunch, but I don't need to sit here until you come back at 1 o'clock if you are not gonna do my apartment. Like at least a window that's a little bit more reasonable, that I can make arrangements for other people to take care of my dad or whatever. So it doesn't have to be like, okay, there's 3 buildings here. You're going to do 59 tomorrow. Okay, we're going to be in 59. There's 18 units here. I'll know somewhere between, I know you could go in and out of my apartment in 10 minutes. Okay, so could I at least have that kind of courtesy?
I mean, I'm going to say that we can attempt it, but it's hard to promise that because we don't know what's going to be going on in the building on any given day. And so we could give you a window from 9 to 12 and not be able to get there until 2 days later because we had a plumbing leak in a completely different part of the property that needs to be addressed. And so
know that. Hey, listen, we're not going to get to you today. Send out one of your blasts. Oh, sorry, Jeanette.
I know, but but Jeanette, then the issue becomes that you're upset with us because we didn't come on the day that we said we were going to come, and we're coming 2 days later. And now you have to make arrangements for 2 days later.
That's not true. That's not true. I would not do that. If there was an emergency, there's an emergency. There was an emergency with your generator. I wasn't upset. I didn't complain.
So Jeanette, tell you what, I'm gonna cut off conversation right now. We've heard you under this one. There's a couple things that we'll work on with management in order to help on. And again, there's some sort of a notification a little bit under, a reminder as to what the policies are from HUD and CHAFA and everybody else for the other stuff, just because those are things we don't control, but what we do control, we'll work on with Westmount and see if we can't do something a little better. But we got to move on at this point. Is there any other quick topic or?
No, I'm good, thanks.
Okay, thank you, Jeanette. And again, it's a good point. Cindy, anything quickly?
Hi, Scott. Yeah, I'll be quick. I saw a truck up at the C&H over here, and I let Gunnar know it is. I mean, it's a nice looking pickup truck, but it's got I don't know. I think I called the guy for Gunnar, and he's got 160,000 miles on it, but it's a 2012 V6 engine. He's asking 9. Scott, you could probably get him down, but it's a nice looking pickup. Anyway, so I texted Gio to give it to Gunnar and the phone number just in case you're interested. I'm keeping my eye out. And then I just wanted to acknowledge that. Oh, you're welcome. That since this last board meeting, okay, seriously, I just need to acknowledge this. From the last board meeting to this board meeting, I think people need to tell Amy to go home, because I've noticed that she has been here very, very late, and it's a month now. But anyway, so Amy, got your back, girl. That's about it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wendy?
Well, Jeanette had this story that's usually my story, so
it doesn't have to be you now.
That's not this month for me, and so I don't really have much. But last month and the month before, I keep Peggy up to date on the sign outside. And my navigation was off last month, but the side of the sign out on the street is the north side. And the only reason I'm bringing it up today is, well, the top of the little hill, that light has been totally out all along. But today, before most of the rain and stuff, the lower one was kicked off his stake, so I stuck it back on. So basically those two are not functioning very well. And that's my
And those
my
are
thing.
both,
And
those are
they're
both on
both-
the north side?
yes, the
What about the
side
south side?
the south side, which is close to the driveway, those seem to be okay. And
Okay,
you know, but and then our parking light, which I think was a part that was going to be hard to find, that's still out. So and that was providing more light on the sign on the south side before. But basically on the north side, the top one just hasn't been functioning at all. And then the
Yeah.
lower one today, I just noticed it was separated from the bottom, so I stuck it back on. So who knows if that's not going
Yeah.
to stay very long. But
is that where the kids wait for the bus?
it's probably close, or maybe they cut through or something like that. Could be.
Yeah, that is where the
It's-
kids
It's
wait.
a little muddy and mucky there, so they probably do go through.
You know, I've noticed it being dislodged several times, knocked
Okay.
over, so I figure it's just sort of an interesting thing to kick in the morning, or, yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll look at some other options and see. It's a tough one because it doesn't get daylight over there.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So anyway,
Okay.
but yeah. So basically, I'm
Okay.
listening, but Jeanette just gave the speech that I've given before. So hopefully, the Westmount inspections or visitations will be a little heads up.
All right.
So-
Well, thank you,
All right.
Wendy.
Thank you.
Is that Jim on there also?
Yes.
I'm here. I'm here.
All right.
No comments this week.
Okay. Nice to have you aboard. And then Lisa, do you have any comments? And welcome. I'm not sure if I've met you yet.
Well, Jose, yes, I do have a
It's breaking
question.
up.
Sure.
She's
Yeah.
muted.
No,
No,
she's good.
No, she's
I
not.
am,
You're good now.
I
You're
am
good.
unmuted. Okay, my question is regarding maintenance for the tenants that have been here for a long period of time. Like myself, we've been here for 10 years and our units have not been repainted. Our floors have not been looked at. And I just wonder what the plan is for the upkeep of some of us that have been here for a long time and our units have not really been refreshed like those that have been turned over 3 and 4 times. And, I'd like to know if you have any long-range plans for maintenance of unit for us tenants that have been here for a long time.
Good question. What is our policy as far as for tenants who remain? What happens inside of their units? I mean, obviously we fix things, but is there any serviceability or upgrade things that we work on?
I don't know if we address it in our written policies truthfully, but it's generally, no, we don't have a specific policy that says, every whatever 10, 12, 15 years, we're going to repaint if it hasn't been repainted in the interim.
Okay, I mean, and Lisa, apologies, but I mean, for a long time, including up until right about now, there's not a whole lot of money available in order to do anything that's not required under the rules. That being said, you're right that, I mean, we're reaching a point where the units have now been here for a while. And
Right.
so us being able to evaluate in some way, again, how we will do this, under what circumstances. Unfortunately, some of the people who end up leaving, some intentionally go ahead and destroy their apartments, which consumes a lot of money. Others end up, we'll say unintentionally, because of who they are or whatever, have left them in massive disarray. And that does consume a ton of the money, which is certainly not fair. But that is what has been happening a lot. But in the meantime, it's a very good question, and let us go ahead and sort of roll that around and see what we talk about and see what could be possible.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
No, thank you. It's a good point.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you all for the public comments. Let's see, reports from Westmount.
Amy, why don't you run through your status report and then I'll do the financials.
Okay, all right, so to answer Wendy, yeah, MJ Daily will be out there, coming, I believe it's gonna be April 17th. They changed the date, it was gonna be the 10th, it's gonna be the 17th, to do the check of the sprinkler systems, and they will also be checking the high-rise buildings that day as well. So that will go out and the notices will be posted on the buildings as well. Probably, be doing that next week on the 10th, so this way it's a whole week notice, and they will get, as well as, your apartment inspection is due before, just in case, because Wendy's so hard to reach sometimes. They're gonna be stuck to the doors for the mills, and you're in 6, and that apartment, buildings 5 to 3, Wednesday, April 10th, between 9 AM and 4 PM. They're gonna do apartment inspections for that, and those posted on the, once this rain slows down, I was posting them up on the buildings themselves today. Set of buildings will have like a group things gonna be done each the week coming next week for the mills. Things like 3 days. Also, we have the sprinkler system that mentioned that. We have the quarterly extermination that's gonna be in May 2nd and 3rd. I already have fixed the dates already. And then it was basically our apartment inspections would commence from April 2nd to April 11th, and it was each building had their own date, and then it was the mills were broken up into a few days on that. We continue to do the recertifications for 2024, and getting the house rules out, doing the increases in rents. Everybody's getting up to par with up to speed with all of that. Anybody that wasn't able to be able to pay those increases were given a payment plan of those that we didn't get to with 2023s, with the paperwork that wasn't in on time. We only have 2 units at this time that are vacant. But I do have, I have 1, I'm still looking to cover, but that's a HUD unit. And then the 413 apartment that is coming, we have waiting verifications on the other one. I wasn't so clear on the generator installation still, with Niall. He was trying to find out some more information from me, because I know we were having a lot of gas leaks because of what was going on with that. But right now, I think the gas leaks have all calmed down. So we're just waiting to see when the finalization of those generators are going to be connected. Then basically going forward, everything else looks like up to speed with what's going on here. If there's anybody else that needs anything, they should be more than welcome to come and let me know.
Amy, is unit 411 a 1-bedroom red unit?
No, it's not. It's a 2-bedroom.
Okay.
The income for that unit will be under 20,000.
Okay.
It's a Section 8 apartment. It's a HUD Section 8 apartment, project based. The reason why that one takes a while.
Under 24,000? Under 20, you put 24 in the
What
measure.
building is that
Under
in,
20.
Amy?
Yeah, the
Did you say
2024,
that-
yeah, because it can't be
Is that
that
building
far.
4? Excuse me, Amy, is that building 4?
Yes, that is building 4.
I thought all the rad units were building 3.
No, it's 4, 3 and 4.
Oh, you do have them in
On my
4
rad.
too.
Yes. So, working with the list, I'm not having much luck. I thought I did have an applicant last time, and when we found out at the end of the day, it wound up being she was over income, so I qualify. But just going forward on that, and looking in the book again for all the applicants that's there, and trying to get someone in there as soon as possible.
Do you have a list of people to check, or should we ask people if they know of anybody in that income level that's
No, I
looking for
have
an
to go by
apartment?
that wait list. I
Okay.
have to go by the wait list, yes.
How long is our 1-bedroom wait list?
It's a
Quite-
2-bedroom.
It's not, it's a 2-bedroom. It's quite long.
Yeah.
It's quite long, and at the same time, I have to purge at the same time, because people are not gonna qualify. They're way over income. Most of the majority of people that have applied in the past, and that right now reaching out to them, their income was of that level, and now they're way above, so it's purging at the same time.
By the way, and for one bedroom, are we very short wait list or no wait list or?
What do you mean, for RAD units or for regular units?
Well, actually,
Affordable?
even for the RAD units, how I imagine we're even long wait list there.
Oh,
for.
that's a long wait list as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, but my regular one bedrooms, no, come in, and if they meet the income lines and requirements, they are automatically given the paperwork to get it, and we do all the investigations and everything and verifications and get them set up to go move in.
Yep, thank you.
And can I just add one more thing to the general report? Just want to let the board know that the Spectrum end of the year 2023 reporting has been completed and submitted as of April 1st per the deadline. So that's been done. I haven't heard anything back, but I don't anticipate to for at least a month or two. But it's done.
That's it.
Any
Any
questions?
Yeah, I have a question of the status report, not a question, a comment. And it has to do with the paving. You said filling in the cracks. Well, I looked at the property, it's more than just cracks. There were a lot of patches that were done when they did the digging for the mains. There were patches put in over that. They're actually sinking down already. You can't keep kicking the ball forward on that because you're going to get into the season where everyone's getting paving done because that's when the asphalt becomes available. And you'll wait and wait and wait before you know it'll be another year. And this is getting to be very bad and gets worse and worse. You can't keep kicking the ball forward. It's something that has to be attended to quickly. That's my comment.
Okay, I mean, we're happy to do that. I think that it would probably be wise for that to be a decision that the board is involved with, just because it's going to be a big number to repave. You're probably in the, $100,000+ type of expenditure to repave the parking lots. So I think we're happy to do that, but that's something that's going to have to come from a source other than the operating budget. So I think the board should be involved.
Rick, even if it's a matter of not just filling in the cracks, but filling in the places that are sinking, doing more patchwork, you can't wait too long because you'll have all the contractors being very busy and won't be able to get somebody on the job. So it's something that has to be looked into both ways, either full paving or patching, but it has to be done quickly.
Well, we have to know how we're going to pay for it. I think that's what I'm hearing.
You got to get the numbers first.
Yeah, so I mean, the repair is what was noted as being pursued in the report. The replacement is a different animal. That's a much bigger project, much bigger dollar figure. And we're happy to pursue both. All I was suggesting was that the replacement, I think, should be a decision that includes the board because of the number that will be attached to it.
You're right, Rick. We should look at both and see which we can do first.
Do we have our in sort of bigger picture? Do we have our list of sort of the capital projects that are on our list for the next couple of years, or a list of something like that?
That's the biggest item, I would say. Off the top of my head, that is on the list. I mean, aside from that, I think when it comes to things that are failing, things like the water heaters, a lot of that has been addressed with the work that Bernie did. The next thing I think that is going to start costing money are the furnaces. We've had 2 furnaces recently fail that needs to be replaced. Furnace is about $5,000, I think, a little over $5,000 to replace it. So, you could look at that as a larger project, or you can just do it, as a one-off.
I just want to point out something, but the ones that you're replacing are not the ones that were new ones that were replaced already by like CNC. They're older furnaces that were converted So they've been around for a while.
Mhm.
So it's a different story. But I did give you a quote that I got from CNC about doing maintenance. And it was like $300 a year per unit for 2 visits. And anything that it needed, parts, refills of the refrigerant or anything like that would be part of that contract. So maybe you should look at it again.
Yeah, I mean, we had talked about that, and that was about just under 35 grand a year.
For the entire complex.
Right, for the, you know, basically the preventative maintenance inspections is really what it is. And at the time, we didn't have 35 grand laying around to throw at that. So we kind of decided that what we were going to do was do them on an as needed basis, which is what we've been doing. And so, you know, again, the 35 grand a year for the preventative maintenance inspections is fine. I just don't know. I'm not convinced that it's worth it. I don't think you're gonna extend the life of the furnaces appreciably by doing that, or at least I don't. You know, in my
Well,
experience, you know,
Vic, the new furnaces that they installed have a 12-year guarantee, a 12-year warranty. So if they're the ones that put it in and it breaks down while they're doing maintenance, it'll be replaced. You won't have to pay to replace it.
but you
But
still
the
got to
older
spend the
ones,
35 grand to have them inspected every year.
2 visits to each furnace every year, cleaning everything, replacing filters, replacing any parts, replacing any chemicals that it needs. All that preventive maintenance will prevent some of them from breaking down.
Well, but Bernie, if you're looking at the cost benefit analysis, and again, some of this was when we had absolutely no money, but if we have at $5,000 a pop, and that's what the furnaces were. I'm sorry, was that the right number? Or
Yeah.
I mean, so you'd have to have 7 of them break down a year in order to justify paying the preventative.
All right.
Yeah.
In any event, Scott, just so you know what we got,
Yeah.
the information, I'm going to send it to you tomorrow. I'm running out, not running out, I'm be busy after this meeting. And take a look at it and see what they're offering.
Yeah.
You should know you've been involved with construction and see what makes sense.
Okay. Rick, would you have any idea for like just doing the patching that Bernie's talking about for the worst areas, or I don't know if Amy or Ann might, you know, just for the worst areas at the property, I mean, is that in a $20,000 range, or is that a 50 or a 5 or any clue?
No,
Or
I would think that would be in like just guesstimating like 10 to 15,000 type of number.
Really? For the entire property?
No. Just repatching some of the bad areas.
Yeah, I know. And doing it in the different parts of the property, not just one area. So it's not repaving the entire property, it's just fixing, repatching some of the areas.
Correct. And again, you know, without measuring it, knowing the actual square footage that we'd have to address, it's hard to say. So I'm guesstimating.
So do we want to, I mean, I think that's something that we absolutely ought to be looking at. You know, the 100,000 right now, is kind of a big nut to chew unless we have to. And I don't think we have to right now. Would that be a correct assessment?
Yeah, I mean, would it be nice to do it? Absolutely. You know, it would be nice to have a nice, smooth, fresh parking lot out there. Is what we have there serviceable? Yes. And I think Bernie's right. There are areas that have sunk that you know, should or could be lifted that would improve the situation. So I would suggest if the appetite isn't there to spend the large number on a replacement, that we pursue the repatching, I'll call it, of the areas that have failed.
Did Eversource build those trenches that are now sinking?
Actually, it was done by that contractor, Burns. And once already I had Burns come back and do some patching because there was a delay in putting the mains in. They were supposed to come back a second time. If you notice, by Mill, there was some really areas that sunk. They actually marked that they were supposed to come back and never did. But Eversource was going to do that, not repave the whole thing, but fill in some of the sunken areas.
Well, do we need to talk to them to finish, to do the job
Yeah,
right?
but it's not part of their contract, really. They were doing it as a favor.
Great favor.
Yeah, right. They would do us a big favor if they finished the generators, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mentioned it to Rich Townsend the other day. I thought, Rich, hey, you're utility commission. And he said they were given a name at that meeting of who to contact with Eversource. I said, well, give me the name. I'll start harassing him. But we'll see what happens. I don't know whether, Scott, if you want to, were you at that meeting with the utility commission? Or no?
I did not go to utility commission.
Okay. I'll double check and I'll get the names. There were two guys and they said, this is the person, the customer relations said, they probably don't want to hear about how they're, have dirty power going to Millport and et cetera. Because we've got a list of stuff with their different utilities, both gas and electric, so.
Yeah, actually, that's a good reminder. If I was gonna put something on the capital improvements list, it might be a, gosh, I forget what you call it now. I've lost the term. Something to clean up the power on the way in.
Yeah. It's like a UPS kind of thing, or something that basically it's an equalizer that keeps the spikes out.
Right, is to surge protection. I think that's the word I was looking for.
Surge
Thank you.
protector, yeah.
Because because of the surges, we wind up spending more money than normal on appliances. And so it would, over time, I think, save some dough. So I think that's a worthy item to put on the list.
By all means.
All right, so what again, instead of handling the stuff piecemeal, if we could go ahead and get, again, that sort of list as to, what's on our stuff, let's set up our capital budget, let's put stuff in there. Cutting back to Lisa's comment earlier on, we probably ought to go ahead and start, putting some money aside each year for 5 apartments or something to repaint or to do touch-ups or some things for long-term tenants. I don't know what that is, and I don't know what sort of budget we're talking about, but we ought to put something down on the list to make sure we get to that.
Yeah, and remember that what we do is we have our replacement reserve account that we contribute to monthly. So those are the accounts from which we would do some of these projects. It's just, the balances in the accounts don't afford you the opportunity to do all of them, obviously.
No.
So you got to pick and choose.
And again, I think for, as we come off of the Canaan Parish project for a very short period of time, we might be able to go ahead and fund parts of these things and have them there and make up some lost ground from in the past. And I know that, again, you can defer maintenance until you can't defer it anymore. And then you can't defer it.
Right.
So as long as we're looking at it and trying to get the reserve set up right. And again, we certainly don't want to end up in the, resorting to checking the couch cushions again for change in order to do mandatory repairs. But
Do we have a list anywhere, an analysis anywhere of the tenancy, the length of tenancy of our tenants? Of the 113 units over there, how many have been there 5 years or more?
Yeah. That's something our software can produce. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think that would be, it's like you're saying, like if we're going to do 10 apartments a year or 5, whatever we can afford to do, you start looking at the ones that have been there, the longest without the routine maintenance, and then eat down on that list a bit.
Well, some things get more wear than others, like, not only the
Right.
paint, vinyl tile. After all these years, they start cracking.
Right.
That's not that expensive to replace, of course, than painting. I don't see anything else that would be a replacement.
no,
I mean, appliances get replaced as needed anyway.
no, it's one of those that it's good to take a look at. And again, I think it's again, this is a good issue. We're a long way in on, from where we started, and whether or not it's this year or next year or the year after, some of this stuff has to hit. And it is right that, again, it's not fair to not fair to long-term tenants that they never get anything. So,
Right.
except for the housing, but,
Yeah.
it'd be good to, and again, if we don't do it, it's gonna come back to haunt us anyway. So it's something we have to do and it's fair and a good way to go, so. And hopefully if we plan it, then of course we can hopefully do it in a way that minimizes inconvenience for all parties, those doing it and those whose apartments are having it done in, so. Be good planning. Okay.
Okay.
Um,
All right. I can do the quick financial report. So I emailed
Maybe
everybody.
we should go into executive, we do that?
For financials?
Yeah, no, we normally don't.
Not for the financials.
Yeah.
I thought we did.
No.
Go right ahead.
So anyway, I emailed the 3 reports. I'm looking through them now. What you'll notice is that we're pretty much on or ahead of budget in all categories on all 3 properties. The only item that I see that I need to actually take a look at and figure out that looks out of whack is on Millport Phase 2. In the bad debts line, we have a $15,000 entry into the bad debts line. And that entry makes up the majority of the difference in our projected cash flow versus actual. The projected was a loss of basically $1,000, and the actual is a loss of 16 grand, 15 of which comes from that bad debt line. So I want to double check that because I'm not sure if that was a result of recommendation from auditors for some write-offs. Is that what it was, Ann? Yeah, I see her nodding her head. Okay, yeah, so that would be what that is. Aside from that, if you look through them, we're pretty much tracking right on budget for almost everything. And so we're where we expected to be, let me put it that way. In addition to that, the AR reports you notice are improving as well. So, you know, we make improvement in large part thanks to Amy's work on the AR every single month, you know, small steps, but at least steps forward. So that's very helpful. And then I will report that I did speak with the auditors about some of the larger tenant balances, the you know 30,000 tenant balances that we had talked about at last meeting as far as writing off is concerned, and they had not written it off and they were finalizing the reports. So they said, just leave it for now and we'll write it off at next year's audit. So it's sitting there, it's noted, it will be written off. They didn't write it off this year. And I, by the time I suggested to them that we had pretty much finalized the report. So I didn't want to have them redo everything. So we'll just move forward throughout the course of the year with the note on there that it's to be written off. Aside from that, I don't have anything remarkable to report on the financial side unless you have any specific questions on any of the budgets that were submitted.
Out of curiosity, Rick, what is a $12,000 income item from investments in the Mill Apartments? Just where did that pop up?
Interest.
Interest?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Haven't seen that on income reports in a long time.
Right.
Wow. Nice.
Yeah.
We'll be able to plug a couple potholes.
Right. Right.
Definitely.
That's all I had.
Okay. Any other questions? No? All right. That's all I've got.
All right. I guess under new business stuff, the truck.
Yes. So we had the Canaan Parish board meeting last week, and I thought it would be prudent to discuss it with them since the idea was to split the expense between the two. And after much discussion about the truck, it seems, and Peggy, you let me know if you agree with this assessment, seems like the consensus from their part is that They prefer leasing rather than plunking down money. And I think we got them around to splitting the cost, although that was hotly debated for quite a while in the meeting. So I think we've got their buy-in to lease and split the cost. And so with that, I toss it back to this board to see if you guys all agree and approve, and I can move forward.
Yeah, I mean, the concern was on one board member's part to the fact that Canaan Parish is new, and we're not gonna have the level of maintenance that Millport is. It's like, how do you divide it up? I mean, do you prorate it every month? You know, by, oh, well, there were six maintenance calls on, but if you go to Home Depot or Lowe's and you pick up lumber for both, or you pick up supplies for both, yeah, it's like, it just, especially for the amount that the lease would probably be, it just makes sense to divide it 50-50. But we got some argument there, but I think it will work.
Yeah,
Let's
we
just
got
split it 50-50, yeah.
we got other argument about percentage of membership interest, and should that be taken into consideration? So anyway, there were a lot of considerations made in the discussion, but I think we got them to accept a lease and to split it.
And from an accounting perspective, it probably is easier just to lease it because that's just a standard monthly payment versus doing a lump sum. Would that be correct, or?
I don't think, from an accounting perspective, I don't think it would really matter. It would just, if we bought it, it would just be an asset on the books that would be depreciated. And then a lease would just be an expense. So in either case, you know, it's just an accounting entry, just different type.
By the way, have you made contact with Steve on this yet?
No, I wanted to make sure that I had
Okay,
Canaan Parish's approval before I did that.
And would the partnership be the lease lessee or lessor?
Yes, I believe that would be the way to set it up.
Because there's no checking account with the partnership, right?
Yeah, well, there's the operating account. The operating account is when you say the partnership, do you mean the ownership entity?
Right.
Yeah.
The
No,
Canaan
this-
Parish ownership entity?
Well, I think the joint Canaan Parish Redevelopment LLC, right?
Yeah.
Or-
Yeah, so, right, the entity that is now Canaan Parish and the entity that is all of the Millport structures would
Right.
end up being the lease, well, I guess.
There isn't
Right.
one entity.
I mean,
for-
Millport, there's a hassle with Millport, so one of
Yeah.
the Millports would buy it, would lease it and then sublease it to the other folks? Or
That's
would
what
it
I'm
be-
wondering whether the joint venture, basically the joint project and opening up, some kind of account that both entities would fund to pay this lease.
No, I think the lease comes right out of operating funds for Canaan Parish. It becomes part of the budget. And for each of the Millport entities, it would be a line item under theirs too, for the truck. I believe it,
Okay.
would that be correct, Rick?
Yeah, that's the way I anticipated it working.
And so by not having an ownership part, I think it does become easier. Having the lease makes it easier. And then it's just a question is who owns the lease and then subleases to everybody else.
So you would have
Right.
like each Millport entity would pay 1/6 of the lease. Is that right?
Or we do
Well-
it by, I think if we do it by apartment, then that's the right way to do it, because then it's fair for whatever it is. And so we have 213 units and everyone pays 1/213th for each unit they have.
Okay,
Does that sound right?
Yes.
Yeah.
that's high math. So it's
I can do 213 divided into anything in my head.
Since when did you ever divide something by
Oh, God.
213? Yeah.
And then the insurance, and then. Yeah, I mean, just to make sure this legally structures, and again, I don't mean to belabor this, but, the Millport entity that leases it, well, I mean, it may be easier to have, well, Rick, who would you, out of our 4 entities, which one should lease it? Do you think?
I think it would be, I was assuming that we would use the Canaan Parish ownership entity to do the lease, and that Millport would sublease, if you will, or contribute 50% or whatever it is, whatever works out to be. It'll be, 54% or whatever that number is to Canaan
I think
Parish.
that's likely the easiest way and the cleanest financial, because otherwise the small ones are out. And so Canaan Parish entity leases the truck. They insure the truck. They sublease, and do we have to do an indemnity thing under the truck? I mean, we're not anticipating anything, but if something happens with the truck, does each entity have to then sort of like indemnify the others? So what happens if there's an accident?
Yeah, that part I don't know the answer to. I was gonna, once we had this buttoned up, I wanted to reach out to the insurance agent and say, okay, here's
Right.
what we want to do. How do we properly insure this?
I mean, Mike, any thoughts just under the flow of indemnification under having a vehicle and again, I'm probably overdoing this. The insurance agent probably has this pretty easy, and then you just do a sublease or something, but.
Yeah, I mean, we have what's our umbrella coverage? Is like 3 million or 5 million?
Yeah.
Have at least 2 million is what our agent has said.
Does the umbrella coverage apply to all four, or does each entity
Couldn't
have
you
its
do a
own?
COI with like the Accord
E-
form and naming them?
Each has its own umbrella.
Yeah, I think we'll leave it to you under just under the insurance stuff. Obviously, we're now creating something where we're adding auto. I assume that for how we're doing this, the auto would end up being something that is very minor for the Millport units. And then obviously the Canaan Parish portion would be part of the sublease expense to make that again even out. And just so long as there's not a huge cost where each one of the entities has to pay $1,000 because we got a truck on site or something, which I don't think that couldn't be the way it works. But
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
Maybe
Well,
we should
maybe-
ask the tenants that was still attending this meeting. Should we ask them?
I don't think they have insurance.
Ask them what?
I know, we should really not make this part of the public meeting.
No, this is part of what there's no reason this would not be public.
Okay,
Anyone can drop when they want. This is the boring stuff that we really get into.
Right.
Is there
Yeah,
anything
Scott-
with
Scott, to your question about the indemnification, just thinking on it, I mean, the only time I think that would pop up is if there was an overage claim, and insurance wasn't sufficient, right? So you had a claim and there was a shortfall and there was an overage claim, then I guess there'd have to be a joint indemnification of, among the entities, if the accident happened, one of the other properties and an action was taken against the whole. And I gotta think that through a little bit. That's the only time I could see that popping up, perhaps.
I think ask our insurance agent, see if there's any sort of an issue, and again, just picture that if it's as long as we've written the agreement correctly and the insurance covers under stuff, I don't think it's a big issue. So could we put a motion on the table to allow Westmount to proceed with leasing a truck that will be split on a prorated basis per apartment between the 3 Millports and Canaan Parish? And we just want to make sure we have the right insurance in place, and then we just need to administer the fair distribution of the pricing.
Leasing in the name of Canaan Parish Redevelopment LLC or whatever, right?
Right.
Yeah, the overarching entity. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, overarching it, Canaan Parish.
Yes.
And Bernie, real quickly, just I think that a bunch of the tenants are muted, which again is not necessarily a bad thing, but are they capable of raising their hands if they had anything to say, or?
I put them on mute because otherwise they'll just keep on talking. So anyway,
Ernie,
you want me to unmute them?
Ernie.
So much for the public.
No, they're part of the public. They're part of the public. If anyone's out of turn, then obviously we can mute them. But out of curiosity, because I actually got bounced last week from the or actually on Monday when I actually had comments, but there was no way I
Oh, I
could like
think they
raise my
mute-
hand or do anything. Is there any way that they can, at least if they have something to say, they raise their hand or put a comment in the chat?
Just bear with me.
Just while he's looking at that, I'm looking at
I think they
the,
muted themselves.
Okay, well, it's only, if any tenants have something to say, please just put it in the chat and then we'll unmute and we'll get to it. So, sorry, go
Okay.
ahead. Nick.
I was just gonna say, I'm looking at the certificate of insurance for Millport and the umbrella is 10 million, just to answer your question.
For Millport Apartments?
It's listed as, I believe it's on the COI, you've got phase 1, phase 2, and then there's a second page that's listed as mill. So I think when you put the three together, it's a $10 million umbrella.
Okay.
Makes sense. Okay,
Good,
so
good.
sorry, in approving again, that motion are people up for?
I'll move.
Oh,
Second?
can you hear me? It's Wendy.
Yes, Wendy.
We were muted before Amy spoke. So that was a good probably 45 minutes ago. And I would have liked to have heard some of Amy's information she had for me again. And so that's a big boo-boo that, I mean,
Well,
I'm sorry. I don't like to interfere, but there was something that about the parking lot repaving. I went to the pool, the Steve Benko pool, which I looked it over, and it's probably the size of ours. I counted spaces. And that has been approved to have a repaving, so I think it was well into the $200,000.
So Wendy, sorry, Wendy, just as an aside, just so we're able to keep moving the meeting along. And
okay, but I'm
yeah. For the
yeah, I'm just saying that if this was a meeting, we were cut off a whole long time ago.
You weren't able to speak, but did you hear what happened at the meeting?
I did, but I had
Okay.
had some information that I would have liked to have shared, and I would have liked to. I have to contact Amy now to find out some of the important stuff that she was quickly giving to me, and I couldn't.
So and
I don't like. We don't like to butt in for very long, but if this is a meeting where we're not invited, then there we go.
No, but as a quick point, and again, we tend to run this pretty loosely, and again, we do want the opinions, and it's very helpful for what we're doing. For most public meetings, there's a public section that is the 2-minute, a 2-minute limit basically on speaking, and then there can be some call for comments later on, because otherwise it's again. I mean, again, we do this pretty darn well, and everyone's very considerate of everyone else, and we appreciate again the input stuff. But you can imagine some of the meetings where people contribute a lot more, and it's not necessarily appreciated. So again,
I mean, but I'm spending more time because I couldn't get it quickly answered because I couldn't communicate, and if the comments are strictly comments, but if something's directed to information for us, or we can give information to you, there's my question. But we were definitely, it's been 45 minutes where we haven't been able to be in contact.
Okay. Well, sorry.
And trying to add to the meeting, not distract for it. So I don't want to take any more time, but thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Wendy.
This is,
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Hi, Scott. That's totally inappropriate. I'm sorry. I don't usually get annoyed, but that was totally inappropriate to mute us. Because I'm sitting here and I don't know that I've been muted. And I keep thinking you're all rude because you're talking over me. And I keep wanting to ask Amy a simple question of when is the sprinkler inspection? And
I will apologize.
I'm sorry, but that
normally,
was totally, I'm sorry, Bernie, that was totally
Cindy,
inappropriate.
but we needed to have, time at the meeting rather than having it go too long. You now unmuted, you can say whatever you need to say.
And just for context, I mean, as chairman of the Affordable Housing Commission, or sorry, as chairman of Housing Authority of New Canaan, I attended the subcommittee meeting for Affordable Housing Commission under Monday, and I was muted the entire meeting. So I mean, this is kind of how things are done. And again, I apologize that this went through the way that it did, but again, this is how the rest of the meetings are actually done, conducted over Zoom. So what Bernie did was not out of context for how the stuff works.
Well, at least advise us, Scott, that we've been muted. Because I was
Yep.
sitting here thinking you're all very rude.
We
Because I was
apologize.
trying to ask a question. Yeah,
No, I
thank
understand.
you.
I'm
This is
sorry, Jim,
Jim.
you had a quick comment or?
This is, yeah, Jim Wesley. I tried to use the chat function and it said it was disabled.
Yeah.
There's something weird on this, because again, I
They
believe me,
ju-
I
they just
share your
they just
frustration.
changed the software for the hosting thing, so
Yeah.
I don't know. But
I had this
I see-
issue, I
I
had
see
the
the
exact
chat
same
is-
issue Monday, so I from the receiving end, so I get it, and
no,
someone
the
got
chat,
probably-
the chat function's available. You just have to click on it and then write in what you want to say.
I tried that,
Maybe.
Bernie, but it didn't work.
It says
Yeah.
chat disabled on mine.
Well, it doesn't say that on mine. I don't understand.
Yeah.
Well, you're the host.
Yeah. No, it's a, and again, this was an issue on Monday night on the other meeting I was part of. So it's not necessarily us. The software did update and there's something weird and we just got to try to figure it out.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, but I heard the computer voice when Amy was talking say that we had been muted from that time on.
Okay.
So we'll try to be quiet, but this was a shocker. So.
right,
No,
so-
but we never go over I've been on every meeting for 2.5 years. We never go over 2 and 3 minutes. It's rare. Tonight was a rare occurrence, I think.
Again, won't happen again. We'll keep this up. So, all right, but moving back under
Thank
any
you,
other
Scott.
unfinished business, or sorry, we're on to new business.
Thank
No, unfinished with the truck. Any other unfinished business?
Not from my end, no.
Yep, Bernie, I think you got it back on for the chat, so thank you.
It was on. I just tried it.
No,
It was on all the time.
It may actually take you doing something in order to let,
Yes, there's a separate section to choose the buttons that you want to work. I usually don't use chat, but I didn't shut it off, so it has been on.
no,
in
but
any
all
event-
of us, some of us saw the disabled sign before. I don't know why it's doing it. If you didn't do anything, I don't know why it changed.
I don't either, but rather than discussing this and having it recorded, let's not do that. Let's just continue the meeting.
Thank you. Tim's got to run. All right, so on to new business, any other new business?
None from our end, no.
All right, so at that point, do we, I guess we vote to go to executive session?
Is there
Motion?
anything we need to discuss in executive session?
Typically, there's at least 1 or 2 quick tenant
Yeah.
things that we need to
Okay,
discuss.
I will move that we go into executive session.
For a second? And all in favor? All right, so sorry that we just unmuted you and now we're asking you to leave. So we appreciate you attending and we'll be.
We appreciate you, and we wanted to say thank you at the end of the meeting too.
Thank you, Wendy. I appreciate it. Thank you, Cindy and Lisa.
Thank
That's
you.
true. You know what?
New
That's true, Wendy.
technology.